seemed like to me, based on my research, as I'm still learning and going back and finding other stuff, I'm always finding a woman breastfeeding a child, like it's a male child, right? Even when I go back to studying the reptilians, they got the reptilian breastfeeding the male child. And then you go to the Inanna one, the Black Madonna one, Nimrod and his mother. I mean, it's always all the storylines, Jesus and his mother, Cleopatra and her son. It's always the mother-son concept. But it seemed like to me some kind of way they reversed it and made it father-son. They took the mother out and then put the father-son concept and the breastfeeding connection. Could you go in a little bit on that, the mother-son concept? Go ahead.
That's where you get your Masonic Lodge, mother and son, mama trained the son. So in these depictions of this imagery, the woman breastfeeding the infant, but the father is always counseling a child. He's not never breastfeeding, right? He's standing either next to him or he's standing, kneeling down to talk to him. In our culture, the Roman culture is a little different. It's freaky. It's male on male freaky, right? So the original was the birth of Earth's great defender, Heru. Heru's status as the prince who's the heir to Osiris's throne, but there's one problem. His uncle Set is in the way. So Set in the way becomes Satan's way. So now he got to figure out, as the infant to the great mother, how do I get my mama her proper position back and take my father's throne as his redeemer? I had to get rid of Uncle Set. So we waged war, the Falcon, against Uncle Set, which is really the armadillo from the south of the United States, but that's a whole nother thing. The war between Horus and Set is a war for the throne of Osiris that Set usurped, right? So who Set usurped means under something, Big Mama Seat. Do you know somebody who sit under Big Mama Seat, Elder?
The Pope.
The Pope.
Yeah. Peter's chair. St. Peter's chair.
Yeah, but St. Peter's chair is at a whole nother church.
Yeah. Go ahead. Break it down, right?
They use that because Peter is patter and patter is father. So the Pope is holding Big Mama chair for his father, Set, that set him as a Jacobin, an underminer, under her throne to put the circle around the throne to block her from getting back to her seat. Right? So they show you the conjure magic part of it with the 72 stars in the uterus of the Great Mother. Right? But here's the part, if you notice at the beginning, she's not dressed like she from Egypt. She's not dressed like she from Rome. She dressed like Queen Califia.
Hey, this is what I want to ask you too about. Okay, so we know about the mother and son going down to like the Mason son, the breastfeeding. The Pope is really going bowing before the mother and son concept behind the closed doors. Now this so we're going into the closed doors. Now recently, the Pope just opened these doors. What's your take on that, man? Because everybody got a different perspective on it. But what's your perspective on what the Pope got going on opening these doors? Is it the end of the church, or is he opening up some portals? People asking all these questions. What is your take on the Pope opening up the portals?
First of all, that wasn't the Pope. I don't know who that dude was. Pope a whole android. It's two popes. The other pope, let me see, you got, was it Francis and Benedict, was it? Anyway, the one who was supposed to be resigned was the one who was left with the keys of power. No pope ever resigned because he had to match the church order. They got a name of the last pope as Francis. Right? Francis is a robot. He been executed years ago for crimes against humanity and adrenochrome harvesting and child molesting. Right? He been gone. But that robot that they slide under the bed, they don't want people touching on him, so they have to hire an actor now. All that is to give us the illusion that it's business as usual when it's not. Because they don't got no more power at the Vatican. The sacerdotal seat has been claimed by the Great Mother. Right? When you seen Empress Redbird go in Philadelphia and sit in that state seat, that was the seat of government for the tribes. The collective of the tribes, with no tribe being better than another tribe. So that all of their grievances can be addressed with equity, with no favoritism. Because ain't no big eyes or no little U's unless you under the patriarchy, where they make some people better than the rest of the people. Big Mama don't play that. Right? So when she sat in that seat, they knew it was over. They knew it was over then, because now they didn't surrender the foundational document that they wrote up for their conquest called a loyal title. They already had to give her that. And then she went and sat in the sacerdotal seat. Right? Now, when she did that, it's game over, but you have to give the people's mentality a chance to catch up to the tribal events that's happening, coinciding with the government's events. Counter conjure. They now is responding to us because the counter conjure has been exposing the tribal oral traditional takeover, with many tribes being involved, playing different parts of the redemption. Right? And it starts at 2012, what we call the long walk home or the journey home. I think one of Malachi's students named Mentuhotep was his name, who wrote The Journey Home.
I think that's his name, but I don't know for sure.
The Marcus Project, Journey Home.
Though, but I don't know.
He had to get that information out. Right? Because at 2012, we needed to have a system in place in order for all of the tribes' leadership to have the opportunity to state their piece. Right? And when we go over the grievances of the varying different leaders, we find out why they in the condition they in, based on the war, based on the warfare that the people don't see. Silent weapons, quiet wars, world domination, warlords, violent whores. Blame the poor for trapping dollars on their own block, but the feds behind every single hot dope spot. They rock our communities with political homicides, and these crooked cops is telling us we need to law abide. But then they cover up these socially secret ass bastards, but the public can't see because they all good actors. Lifejackers putting babies in the state pen, getting raped and turned out by some grown ass men. The wrong that they in deserves hell's full fury, a black mass execution without a fucking jury.
Hey man, my next Rock, I got a list of questions, and these some hot joints, man. The next question we have for you, brother, is that we know that they told us that they brought us over here on ships. Shout out Dame Calloway, man, because we got that. I got that book. Story was told in reverse, in the covering on things. Hey, but we know that they told us we came on ships. Now, what was the ideology behind twisting us around to tell us that we came on ships if they really like the real guys that came up here. Go ahead, bro. Could you go ahead on
That's
that?
the conscious side of the war. That's the George Washington challenge, remember? At the end of 200 years, they supposed to have us so confused to believe that we from somewhere other than here. If we fall for it, they assert this is their domain and part of their territory, and they'll seize it because we surrender it. But if we know we Mississippi clay dirt walking, they screwed. Right? So they told us the story not only in reverse with false information, misinformation that served as a misdirection. Right? Truthful and factual information gave by unreliable sources. Fictitious stories laden with truthful concepts, ideas, and statements. Right? When you get done understanding the zig and the zag, then you understand how they flip when they roll. All of it is a David Copperfield grand illusion called the 3D Matrix. And as long as you keep falling for the Agent Smith effect, you're going to be continuously a slave for the Matrix. But you're about to get a rude awakening.
Hey, my next question, we'll take questions from the crowd too, but I'm gonna get these up because these are some good questions. My next question is, man, the maps. Man, I'm like the maps. I got this over 1,000 maps of the earth and where shit located. But it's like somebody telling us, oh, Egypt over there, Egypt over here. Oh no, that's over there, this over here. It's like they twisted us around. They told us in reverse.
Right.
Like,
that's why they named all of these cities with biblical names. Right? Because we supposed to believe that we the people from the Bible when the people in the Bible is made up people. Right? If you believe that you a made up character from, let's say, Gorillas in the Mist, Jane Goodall out there with gorillas, now all of a sudden she claims she's a gorilla. Now make her a gorilla. Right? They becoming part of the systemic closed minds. Like them horses downtown pull the carriages. Most people don't know this, but if you take a fully visual horse and cover his eyes up, he'll stand in one spot till he drop dead. But you got the horses downtown with blinders on going wherever he's led. How did they do that? By gradually closing the blinders in until the horse vision was so narrow, he no longer relied on it. And then you cover his eyes up. Now he gonna go wherever you lead him because you've been leading him as he was going blind. You his eyes now. Right? That's what they doing to us with the systems. But this is all war. This warfare that most people can't see.
Hey, my next question we have for you, brother. The next question we have for you, brother, is, man, I'm starting to think that they might have transported whole tribes to other whole continents to this RT. They went as far as that to because it's certain tribes. If you look at the diagram and the geographical location of those people, then you saying, damn, and then if you figure out how many people they exterminated their tribe, and then you saying, damn, because they tell us a story about a John Hopkins. You ever heard that story that Elijah Muhammad tell about John Hopkins taking slaves? And then I think Doc come behind him and says that, oh yeah, well, he took a Pacific tribe. He went after the Afar people. So do you think that they could have possibly, with the Smithsonian Institute, Horace Greeley, Walter Plecker, all this different, the paper genocide, do you think they could have went as far as to relocate? I know they did the Trail of Tears and all that. That was relocation. They relocated a lot of us on this point.
Look, a lot of people think they came from Africa. That was from the South, came from New York, okay, Delaware, New Jersey, in ships that they took around the coast around Florida as what they call prison vessels. They was floating prison vessels because they didn't want to release them back into the territory they was from because they was too strong. If you caught one of them, you hold him, you ship him down there. Right? A lot of what they telling us was the slave trade, was the shuffling the prisoners around from the war. Right? They got a whole map called the North American Slave Trade, where it show you the ships moving on the land from one part of the land to another, transporting people. Hold up. Pull up that picture I sent you, and I'm going to get this map and send it to you.
Just now?
Yeah, I sent you a picture.
See, I'm about to, let's see, how can I pull it up? Okay, hold on. Let me see, can I load it up on there? Okay, there's this picture right here. Let's see, can I get it on there, man? If it'll let me do it while we live here. Hey, y'all. Matter of fact, while you doing it, I'm gonna run this other clip, man. It's another clip that we can run. Hold up. We're doing it while I'm trying to get this pulled up. We trying to make me want to log in, then try to do it, but it won't let me do it. The picture of the map just sent me, and the picture of the that thing.
Can you pull up Google?
I'm saying that's why I was gonna just tell you. Let me try to do it on Google. So what's the name of that picture?
That's a Columbiana Statue of Liberty. Columbiana Statue of Liberty. Columbia, I mean Columbia. It's supposed to be Columbiana, but they want to. We get into that in a minute. But it's Columbia Statue of Liberty.
Another thing they did, Rod, that I asked you about is why would they tell us that everybody that was out? Why would they promote the white man is our enemy the whole time?
He was a cat's paw. He was Coach Severs, the fall guy, a stunt man. He was the same as the crash dummies they put in the cars when they do tests.
Damn.
He was the one that they wanted us to take all our aggression out on, and they was going to pretend to be us while they take everything from us. That's what the study of Joseph Sinque's instructions versus Charles Manson instructions. Sinque was supposed to get an army of brothers when they taught him how to use those mind control techniques. And Manson was supposed to get an army of pale faces. And they were supposed to set off a great race war, right, that would distract us and activate what would later become known as Readiness Exercise 84, that was at that time known as the Lord Alfred Plan. Right? So that was going to be the cover story of the government to round up the chiefs they know as chiefs and execute them so that the great mother can't never get her seat back. When neither Manson nor...
That's the connection with the mother and the son thing.
Yeah, because the son got to redeem the mother. The son got to redeem the mother as the prince heir to the throne. Man. It won't let you go to Google either.
You think it's about to get off Big Mama lap? Nah, I'm going to be able to do it. I'm trying to get that other picture so it won't freeze when we do it. When I do go to it. It's
the other picture is called the domestic slave trade map.
Yeah, I got it. I'm getting it right now. So, hey, how long did it took them to come up with this slave narrative? Like, and we know we know it couldn't have been the white guy that came out with it because it's too clever. It had to be somebody that would be able to try to outsmart us amongst us. It's too clever just for them to come up.
You got to remember
They wasn't
You got to remember the blueprint for it, right?
Go ahead.
It wasn't no white people in America before the 1600s.
Right.
So who was we fighting before the 1600s? Right. It wasn't until the 1700s that 1776 when they declared independence. Right. So where was the white people at? White people was a term in law. And it tell you who they is. We done went over that information already, and that nauseam. Right. So when you understand that the illusion was to make you think pale face mean white people, but the white people look like me and you, but they ain't us. But the black people, which was represented by black animal totems, black eagle, was the ones who was lost at sea. You can clearly see that she's from over here.
Go ahead.
Do that look like
you know what? They said that, look, when I Go ahead.
You go ahead, Elder.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I say, you know what I found out? I found out that not only was Cleopatra was over here too, in Georgia. It's a lot of stuff they like over in New York and Harlem. Harlem has been a matriarch center for thousands of years. That's what they ain't telling us. Like Harlem, like New York, Harlem. It's been a matriarch there. Like, you remember Stephanie Sinclair, like even before her, like going back, like they said that Cleopatra was in New York, like, and they telling us about Whale over there. I mean, they really twisted us around, man. They really twisted us around. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so you have what they call victor's history and revisionist history and alternative history.
Go ahead.
The victor's history is what you call the standard narrative of control by the invader. This is what's going to be taught in your educational system, right? The political arena is to beef up the social interaction using politics as the medium. If it wasn't for racist, it wasn't for artificial racist politicians, people wouldn't even know what racism is. Right. Because people wasn't coming out speaking about skin color until the 1800s.
Right.
All of a sudden, after the war, 1812, skin color becomes relevant enough for them to use that as the standard bearer to separate the tribes.
Right.
Right. Now, which tribes is fighting as those dark-skinned, nappy-haired totem clans that they call runaway slaves that came to help the Seminoles in the Seminole Wars? That's their story because they call the Gullahs Seminoles. Right. So that's how you know if the Spanish is telling the story versus the tribes. When the tribes identify that war, they call it the Gullah Wars. Pull up Queen Califia so they can see how she looked compared to that statue of Columbia. This is the domestic slave map. Look at the years on there at the top.
I got you.
This is how they was shuffling us on the land, telling us we was coming from Africa.
Too.
Mm-hmm. This is how they was shuffling us around on our own land. So remember that game you used to play in elementary where you spin somebody around while they blindfold and they got to touch somebody and they be staggering trying to find their way because they dizzy. This what they was doing to us. Spin us around with a blindfold on. And then, so many tribes had their own language that some of the tribes from the north needed one from the median to translate the tribes' languages from the south. And then they moving us around like this on the land.
Now it makes sense. It makes sense because when you join the military, they do the same thing. When you join the military, they send you to a whole nother like to the north. It's called disorientation. That's like that's what Yaku said that they was gonna do though.
Yeah. That's part of the technology to make you believe that you came from somewhere else. They take somebody back then from New York, a Shinnecock, and drop him off down here with in what would be called Texas now. They don't speak the same language, but they the same people.
Yeah.
And that's how they was telling them they from Africa when they was really from here.
Yep. Damn.
Now, ask yourself a question.
Mm-hmm.
Why did they keep record of this?
Man, yeah, that's a good question now. Why would the suckers who are out to do us keep record? Because it's got to be on record, right? It's got to be part record.
It's part of the record because you're looking at it.
Yeah, it's got to be part of the record. Of the
and it's not the only map and not the only time frame where they're showing you this.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, now, the reason why they have to keep record, we got to have the right to discover what they did. So that when we talk to the other tribes across the land, they can understand the enemy was fighting and the strategies they used to us against each other. Mm-hmm. Once we understand how it works, it won't work on us no more. That's how you break the spell.
And then come to find out, the Africans, like a lot of the Africans, some of them came over here by themselves. They didn't come over as slaves. They sailed over here as noblemen. Not the dirty moves. Well, I don't know. I can't consider really Mansa Musa.
Well, you got to remember, before Christopher Columbus, Eric, I've been saying this since the beginning. We was already marrying in the royal families of the Americas with the African royal families.
Right.
But the purpose is blood diversification.
Go ahead.
The purpose of blood diversification is to reduce the risk of birth defects that comes with generation after generation of inbreeding.
Go ahead.
Right? So you have to get outside blood periodically to rejuvenate the blood with fresh blood.
Go ahead.
Right? So now you're talking about how royalty, that we knew how to purify our blood.
Go ahead.
By using the royalty of other parts of the world, because they all got a different genetic sequence. And when you add new genetic sequences to the blood pool, it reduces the birth defect because it's an ongoing forward progress.
Go ahead.
Right? Instead of tying the DNA up into knots by inbreeding repetitively with no fresh blood from the outside. That's the difference between how we lived as royalty versus how the Europeans raised under the Moors functioned as royalty. We didn't function the same. On the West Coast, we did the same with Asia. And that's why a lot of the tribes had hollow hair. That trait came from intermarrying with them, and that's called the Lee contract.
That's fun.
Because that was the name of the emperor that was first the general that made the agreement in order for the tribes of the earth to always be able to restore the balance back to the matriarchy. But we don't know this because we don't know our tribal heritage. But the elders and a lot of the families know that when they hear me talking, they know what I'm talking about. And now they can start to talk to the rest of their family about it. But before, it was a death sentence to discuss it.
Right.
So now I got to go find the domestic slave trade map, because I keep telling people they was moving us around on the land, but now they can see the receipt. I didn't make the receipt.
Go ahead.
You can go to Google and pull it up, and this ain't the only one.
Right. It's a fire receipt right here, bro. I ain't gonna lie. There's some stuff right here that like I had an idea about it, but now it gave me more of a visual on okay, the Atlantic slave trade really happened just on the coastline of Turtle Island. It ain't go some of it happened too. But a lot of the Africans, they saying they came from the Ivory Coast, were settled over here by themselves. They wasn't even slaves, like Mansa Musa and Abu Bakr. They came over here 1310s.
Okay, now Look at the direction that all of the arrows is pointing. They all pointing from the north to the south.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
By land and by water.
Now this another question I got while we got this map up. Would it be safe to say this was done to the animals as well? That the animals got switched from land to land, like they took elephants from over here, and like I know some
All
of the
that
stuff.
happened. All that happened a couple, probably about a couple thousand years ago, when because the elephant originated over here in the Americas. The camel, all of those. That's how you know that the civilizations of the world spread from the Americas, not the other way around in the out of Africa story.
Right. Right.
If you take the out of Africa story and point all of the arrows back to Africa, you'll be more accurate. It's told in reverse for a reason, because it's called disorientation. The map ain't even, the map is upside down.
Yeah. That's what I was
Florida is the elephant trunk.
Go ahead.
But you can't tell because it's upside down.
Go ahead. That makes sense. That makes sense. They switched this shit around, the animals, and then I believe too, some of the food, like they telling us, oh, we didn't eat this, we didn't eat that, and y'all eat this, but it's a lot of things I believe they switched around to where they telling us it's bad for us, but it ain't that it's bad for us. It's the way we cooking it. They reverse how we cook it. We didn't do grease. The French, they bought the grease over. They bought grease and canned. I'm telling you, man. Because I believe that food, like they saying that corn is acidic, but what did we use it for? Because it was native over here. Why we create that over here, and we never got no disease by eating it over here for thousands of years. Go ahead.
Corn is a genetically modified wheat stalk.
Go ahead.
The reason why corn is an important staple is the same corn carbon is the carbon that make up the human.
Go ahead.
It's corn carbon specifically, no other kind of carbon. That means that